Cate Blanchett breaks her silence, the truth behind the heartbreaking split fro. It was never meant to end. For years, Cate Blanchett and Andrew Upton were regarded as the golden couple of the Australian art scene, a formidable creative force that stood the test of time. With 4 children, a successful theater company, and a home life that seemed unusually grounded for a Hollywood couple, they appeared unshakable. But now, at the age of 56, Cate Blanchett has finally shattered the illusion. In a rare and emotionally charged interview, she has broken her silence, unveiling a private heartbreak that had long simmered beneath red carpet smiles and carefully curated. The truth? Andrew Upton bet. But how did one of the world's most respected actresses, Oscar winner, activist, and icon, end up crumbling in the shadows of a marriage she once called my safe harbor? And why did it take so long for her to speak out? It began, as these stories often do, with whispers, a misplaced text, late nights, a changed tone in his voice. At first, Cate brushed them off. After all, they had weathered so much together. Career pressures, the scrutiny of fame, the intense demands of co-running the Sydney Theatre Company. They were partners. They shared everything. Or so she thought. But over time, those whispers turned into silences. The kind that stretch across dinner tables. The kind that echo louder than any argument. The kind that begin to feel like absence. I remember looking at him, Cate confided in her trembling voice, and realizing I didn't know who I was talking to anymore. The betrayal came not in one explosive moment, but in a slow, silent erosion of trust. Cate, a woman known for her strength and eloquence, found herself caught in the quiet violence of emotional abandonment. And when the truth finally emerged, when the identity of her became clear, it was not just the discovery of infidelity that broke her. It was the dawning realization that the man she had once trusted with her whole being had been emotionally absent for years. The other woman? Younger, unfamous, from the theater world, but obscure enough to remain safely hidden in the margins of the media glare. According to sources close to the couple, Upton's affair lasted months, if not longer. But it wasn't just the physical betrayal that left Cate reeling. It was the emotional intimacy he had offered someone else. I gave him everything, she whispered, pausing for a long, hollow breath. And somewhere along the way, I lost myself. Their split was quiet. No press releases, no bitter public statements. Just the slow unraveling of what had once been a sanctuary. Cate continued to work, appearing in festivals, award shows, and interviews with that same luminous presence. But those closest to her say she was different, more withdrawn, more contemplative. The sparkle had dulled. For a full year, she stayed silent, not out of shame, but out of self-preservation. But now, standing on the threshold of a new chapter, Cate is finally ready to speak, not to expose, but to reclaim. She's not looking for sympathy. She's looking for truth. Her truth. The breaking point, she reveals, came during a quiet dinner at their country home in England. The children were asleep. The house was quiet. And there was nothing left to hide behind. It was there, across a kitchen table stained with wine and old memories, that Andrew confessed. Not in anger, not in guilt, just in fatigue. A truth long delayed, delivered like a final blow. I didn't cry, Cate says. I just sat there. I remember thinking, this is the moment my life splits in two. From that night onward, everything changed. And yet, it was also the beginning of something new. Though the pain still lingers, etched in the lines around her eyes, in the tremor of her voice, there is a quiet power returning to Cate Blanchett. A sense of self reclaimed. A woman rebuilding. Now, fans and followers are left stunned. Was it all a performance? The red carpets, The glowing interviews, the loving glances across award show tables? Or was Cate simply doing what women are trained to do? Hold everything together, even when it's already falling apart. She doesn't answer that question, not yet. Instead, she ends the interview with a line that refuses to close the chapter. Some stories you don't write an ending for. You just live them day by day. And with that, Cate Blanchett walks away, dignified, wounded, luminous as ever, leaving us with more questions than answers. The truth is out, but the healing has only just begun. The world watches, waits, and wonders. What comes next? Cate didn't scream. She didn't throw a wine glass or storm out into the cold London rain. That was never her way. Instead, she stood up, walked to the sink, and washed the same dish 3 times over. Her hands trembled slightly. A flicker, barely noticeable, but enough for Andrew to look away. The silence between them wasn't new. It had been there for months. But now, it had a name, a shape, a face. And although Andrew didn't say her name aloud, Cate could feel it hanging in the air between them like the scent of a stranger's perfume, faint, unfamiliar, and unbearable. In the weeks that followed, Cate moved through their home like a guest. Every room held echoes of who they used to be. The hallway where she once tiptoed barefoot on Christmas morning so the kids wouldn't wake. The bedroom where she nursed their youngest through a high fever at 3 a.m. The cracked window in the sunroom Andrew always promised to fix, but never did. And yet, it wasn't the big memories that hurt the most. It was the small ones. The way his toothbrush stayed in the same place, though he no longer shared the sink. The worn sleeve of his favorite jumper hanging over the armrest. A mug, hers, placed on the wrong shelf, as if he had forgotten where it belonged. One morning, Cate opened the drawer next to the bed and found a ticket stub from a concert they never went to. A concert Andrew had claimed he was too tired for. The date? 3 weeks before the truth came out. 3 weeks before the fracture that had been widening beneath their lives finally split open. She held the stub for a long time, not in anger, but with a strange tenderness. She wasn't grieving a man. She was grieving a memory, one she now had to rewrite with new colors, new shadows. In public, she carried herself with the same poise the world had always known. But her eyes, those famously expressive eyes, told a different story. They were quieter now, not sad, just aware, as if they had seen something no one else could understand. She returned to the theater, not for distraction, but for oxygen. The stage had always been a place where she could lose herself and still feel whole. Now, it was where she could remember who she was before she became his wife, before she became someone who forgave too quickly and spoke too softly. There was something different in her performances now, a deeper vulnerability, a tension beneath the surface that critics couldn't name, but audiences felt in their bones. In The Seagull, she played Arkadina with a quiet fury that left people breathless. In A Streetcar Named Desire, her Blanche Dubois wasn't broken. She was burning. Backstage, she kept to herself. The cast respected her space, unsure whether to ask or ignore the headlines. Only a few dared to mention Andrew. Fewer still asked how she was really doing. But there was one moment, small, almost invisible, that marked a turning point. During a rehearsal, she stumbled on a line. Just a beat. Just enough to pause the scene. The room fell still. Then she laughed. Not a rehearsed laugh, but a real one. Dry, raw, human. "Sorry," she said, brushing a strand of hair behind her ear. "I forgot who I was for a second." And for the first time in months, Cate felt the room breathe with her. At home, the children noticed the change. She was more present, less distracted. One evening, her youngest asked if Daddy would be coming back for Christmas. Cate knelt down, looked him in the eyes, and said, "No, sweetheart, but we'll still have the best Christmas ever, won't we?" They built a tree out of books, lit the room with fairy lights, and hung paper stars from the ceiling. On Christmas morning, Cate baked cinnamon rolls from scratch, even though she hated baking. She laughed when they turned out burned. The kids still ate them anyway. Some nights she lay awake, tracing the ceiling with her eyes, wondering what else had been a lie. But most nights, she dreamed of water, endless open water, and the feeling of floating without fear. Andrew had moved out by then. His things were gone, his scent fading. But occasionally, the house remembered him. A creak in the floorboards, a book left turned face down, a single sock behind the washing machine. Cate no longer felt rage, just distance, as if that chapter belonged to another woman entirely. She began journaling again, scribbles at first, then longer reflections. She wrote letters she never sent, to him, to herself, to the woman she had been before the betrayal. Some nights she read them aloud. Some nights she burned them. Through it all, she discovered a strange kind of peace. Not the kind that arrives when things are fixed, but the kind that arrives when you finally stop trying to fix what was never yours to hold. The tabloids speculated. Rumors swirled. Had Cate fallen in love again? Was Andrew trying to win her back? Was the other woman still in the picture? Cate ignored them all. She walked through the streets of Sydney in oversized sunglasses and a threadbare coat she refused to throw out. She smiled at strangers. She ordered coffee without checking her phone. She sat on park benches and watched the world move, and slowly she began to move with it. There was no moment of triumph, no grand revenge, just quiet reclamation, step by step, breath by breath. A woman reassembling herself, not into who she used to be, but into someone stronger, someone real. And though she doesn't know what comes next, Cate Blanchett is finally ready to find out. Cate Blanchett now moves through the world like someone who knows something others don't. She walks into a room and people pause, not out of admiration, though that still comes naturally, but out of curiosity. They feel it, the shift, the weight of something left unsaid. She wears it like perfume, not overwhelming, but present, lingered, unshakable. In interviews, she smiles with grace, offers clever, evasive answers, a masterclass in elegant deflection. When asked about Andrew, she blinks slowly, then tilts her head ever so slightly, as if measuring how much to reveal. "We're all just trying to find our way through the dark," she says once, in an offhand tone, staring into the camera as if it were a mirror. No one knows what that means exactly, but everyone feels it. Behind closed doors, whispers remain. Did Andrew regret it? Did he try to come back? Has he spoken to the children? Has Cate forgiven him? She doesn't say, not even to her closest friends. Some suspect she's still protecting him. Others say she's playing the long game, waiting. For what? No one is certain. She takes long walks now, always alone. No entourage, no sunglasses, just Cate and the sound of her own breath. Sometimes she stops by the same small cafe on the corner of Surrey Street, orders an Earl Grey with oat milk, and sits by the window for hours, sketching in a weathered notebook. Not scripts, not ideas. Something else. One barista, a young aspiring actor, once peeked at her sketchbook. Just a glimpse, a single page. It showed a woman drawn from behind, hair tangled by the wind, walking into a forest. No title, no signature. But the lines carried a sense of movement, of escape, of something just out of reach. Later that week, Cate left him a note. Just 4 words, written in ink the color of dusk. The forest remembers everything. What did she mean? Was it metaphor A warning? A secret? He never asked. Something in her eyes told him not to. Meanwhile, the media circus slowed. Another celebrity scandal took over the headlines. Another couple divorced. Another betrayal made public. But Cate's story stayed different, quieter, heavier. People sensed there was more. They just didn't know what. Not yet. In the theater world, rumors began that Cate was writing something, a one-woman show, a play that would debut under a pseudonym. Some said it was already finished. Others claimed she was waiting for Andrew to read it. Some even whispered he had read it and walked out halfway through. No confirmation, no denial. Her agent won't comment. She's been seen late at night, leaving old rehearsal spaces long since abandoned, lights still on inside. Once, a passerby swore they heard music coming from the building. A haunting melody, a woman's voice, familiar, cracking, singing in French. Just once, then silence. Another said she's been spotted visiting a small cemetery north of the city, always alone, always at dusk, always leaving the same item behind, a folded piece of black fabric. Some say it's part of a costume. Others say it's his. But again, nothing confirmed. Cate herself is both present and distant. Her public appearances are careful, sparse. On red carpets, she's radiant. But look closely, and you'll notice her hand sometimes trembles. That she now wears a ring on her right hand instead of the left. That her laughter, though charming, ends too quickly. In one particularly rare moment, during a quiet panel for a charity film festival, an audience member asked her, "If you could go back and change one thing in your life, what would it be?" Cate didn't answer immediately. She looked down, twisted her ring once, twice. Then, "I wouldn't go back. The woman I was didn't know how to see clearly." She romanticized fog. And just like that, the moderator shifted topics. But the room stayed heavy, pulled down by the weight of what she didn't say. Back at home, what remains of it, her life has become almost monastic. No parties, few guests. The garden, once managed by a hired team, is now overgrown in certain corners. But Cate likes it that way. She says she's letting nature win a bit. One neighbor claims she saw Cate digging something up one morning near the back fence. Not planting, digging. Hard. Focused. Dirt on her cheeks, hair tied with a red ribbon. She didn't stop when the neighbor called out to her, just kept digging until the sky turned gray. Later that week, the ribbon was found tied to a tree. No explanation. And then there's the letters. No one knows who started it, but someone posted online about receiving a handwritten letter in the mail. No return address. Just a single page, written in beautiful cursive. The content? A story. A parable. Something poetic and strange. About a woman who loses her voice, only to find it again in the scream of a fox in winter. At the bottom. More letters appeared. Different people. Different cities. Always personal. Always a story. All signed the same way. Some believe it's Cate. Others say it's a hoax. No one can be sure. But the timing? It's too perfect. As for Andrew, he remains largely out of view. Some say he's relocated to Berlin. Others say he's back in Sydney, quietly working under a different name. His silence has only deepened the mystery. One tabloid claimed he sent Cate a public apology in the form of a poem published anonymously in a literary journal. The poem is unsigned. The editor won't speak. Cate has never acknowledged it, and maybe she never will. Because this isn't a story about closure. It's not about revenge or justice or tidy endings. It's about something more difficult, more elusive. It's about a woman who thought she knew everything about love, only to realize she hadn't even scratched the surface. A woman who, after everything, is still standing, but standing somewhere no one else can quite reach. And maybe that's the point. Maybe Cate Blanchett isn't trying to be understood anymore. Maybe she's just becoming something else. And as she walks into the mist of another morning, leaving no answers behind, only traces, you're left wondering not just what happened, but what still might. There's a photograph, slightly out of focus, grainy like it was taken through a fogged-up lens, of Cate sitting on a bench at Circular Quay. She's alone. No makeup, no entourage. A scarf pulled tight around her neck. Her eyes, though turned away from the camera, appear to be searching. Not for someone. Not even for clarity. But for a feeling. A memory. Or perhaps the absence of both. It surfaced online weeks after it was taken, posted without a caption. No one knew who snapped it. But it spread. Quietly. People began to comment. Not with gossip, not with assumptions, but with fragments. Their own stories, their own heartbreaks. It was as if that single image had become a mirror. That look, I've worn it too. She's not lost. She's just elsewhere. I think she's speaking without words. Some began to revisit her old films, rewatching scenes with fresh eyes. In Carol, they now saw a hesitation behind the seduction. In Blue Jasmine, the descent felt closer, less theatrical. In Tar, her unraveling seemed almost prophetic. Lines once delivered with precision now echoed with something messier, something real. As if her characters had always known something she herself had yet to discover. Still, Cate refused to explain. She turned down interviews, declined memoir deals, even avoided public tributes. At a recent award ceremony, where she was honored for lifetime achievement, she accepted via video message, just 34 seconds long. No tears, no anecdotes, just a soft, steady voice. We become what we survive. And sometimes, that's all I can say. Then the screen went black. For those who knew her personally, the distance grew noticeable. Calls went unanswered, emails unread. Even longtime collaborators expressed uncertainty. One director, speaking under anonymity, admitted, "I don't know if she's healing or disappearing, maybe both." And still, the letters kept arriving, now folded into the pages of borrowed books at second-hand shops, hidden inside jackets at thrift stores, scribbled on napkins, and slipped under cafe doors, each one different yet connected, fragments of a story only she seemed to understand. One such note, found tucked into a copy of Wuthering Heights, read, "There is no such thing as closure, only quieter forms of ache." Chapters. Another, taped beneath a park bench in Melbourne, "Some ghosts stay not to haunt, but to witness." Chapter E. Readers speculated, was this art? A personal project? Therapy? Or was it something else entirely? An act of letting go that defied traditional explanation? Weeks later, someone claimed they saw her in Paris, sitting by the Seine, scribbling into a small leather notebook. She didn't look up. She didn't speak. She just wrote. And then she left the notebook on the bench beside her, walked away, and vanished into the city. When the notebook was opened, it was nearly full, but there were no dates, no titles, just story after story, some surreal, some painfully honest, all written in the same looping, delicate script. One entry read, "A woman loved a man who belonged to the sea. She built him a house on land, filled it with warmth and firelight. But his eyes always watched the tide. One day, he left with no explanation. The woman waited by the shore for a message in a bottle. None came. But still, she returned every morning, barefoot in the sand, not looking for him anymore, only watching to see if the sea had changed. Below it, in smaller writing, maybe the sea is inside us all. No one knows where that notebook is now. It changed hands several times. Some claim it was sold. Others say it was burned. But there's a rumor that Cate took it back, that she found it again. Or maybe she never lost it. What remains is the mystery. Not just of what happened between Cate and Andrew, but of what it did to her, of who she became in the quiet that followed. He, for his part, has spoken only once. A single quote in an obscure interview for a fringe theater magazine. When asked about Cate, he paused, looked down, and simply said, "You don't realize how much light someone gives you until you're standing in the dark." He didn't elaborate. The interviewer moved on, but the line lingered. Back in Sydney, at a small beach only locals know, someone reported seeing a woman walking into the ocean at dawn, fully clothed, step by step, slowly. She didn't swim. She didn't turn. She just stood there, waist deep, arms loose at her sides, face to the horizon, watching. Was it Cate? They couldn't be sure, but they said the woman had her posture, graceful, unafraid, and her stillness, like someone who had stopped searching for answers and started listening for questions instead. Later that day, footprints were found in the sand, leading back to the road. Next to them, a seashell. Inside it, a piece of paper curled tight like a secret. It read, "Some endings are just pauses dressed in silence." And that's where the story leaves us. Not at a dramatic conclusion, not with a confrontation or a redemption arc, but with fragments, with moments, with the feeling that something true was spoken, but not fully heard. Cate Blanchett continues to live, to breathe, to move. But where she is now, emotionally, spiritually, is anyone's guess. And maybe that's how she wants it. A woman no longer defined by betrayal or forgiveness. A woman who lives in parentheses, in pauses, in the spaces between applause. A woman who once said, "You don't need a full stop to finish the sentence." And now she doesn't offer one.